Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving deep into a really popular wellness trend you might have heard of called earthing, or sometimes grounding. This whole thing actually started with a fantastic question from one of our viewers that sent us down a pretty wild rabbit hole. So let's get right into it.
So this is where it all began. A reader named Mr. Chen wrote in asking about these earthing mats that are all over the market. His question was simple but so important. Is there any real scientific evidence behind them? It's such a great question, and it's exactly what we're here to figure out. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to start by looking at what these things are even supposed to do. Then we'll see how the media talks about them. We'll take a close look at a celebrity endorsement, and then really dig into the science, or lack thereof. After that, we'll get an expert's opinion, and most importantly, we'll wrap up with a toolkit so you can spot this kind of stuff for yourself. Okay, first things first. Before we can start poking holes in something, we have to understand what the claims are. What are these earthing mats actually promising to do for you?
When you look at the marketing, the claims are pretty amazing. They say these mats can get rid of static electricity, help you sleep like a baby, balance your body's energy, regulate all sorts of bodily functions, and even protect you from all the technology around us. It sounds incredible, right? But that brings us to the most important question. Where is the proof?
So, to track down that proof, the first place an investigator should always look is how the idea is being sold to the public. We stumbled upon a big article in a major magazine that was the perfect place to start our investigation.
So, check out this headline from a 2019 article in Commonwealth magazine. See how it's framed? It asks, can it cure diseases, or is it nonsense? A headline like that makes you think you're about to read a fair, balanced debate. But as we're about to find out, what it promises and what it delivers are two very different things.
Now, let's do a little digging on the author. On the surface, her background is super impressive. She's a former editor-in-chief, she's won a bunch of awards, written tons of health books. But as we looked through her bio, we noticed something kind of strange. There's no mention of any specific academic degree. Now, that's not necessarily a deal breaker, but for an investigator, it's a little flag you tuck away for later.
The article uses a few different tactics to convince you, but let's focus on a really powerful one: the celebrity endorsement. When a famous person backs something, it can be incredibly persuasive. So when the author brought up a well-known biohacker, we knew he had to take a closer look.
The article claims that Dave Asprey, the guy behind Bulletproof Coffee, used grounding to improve his sleep. Okay, first tiny little red flag, they misspelled his name. It's Asprey, not Asprey. A small detail, sure, but details matter when you're trying to build a credible case. But the bigger question is the claim itself even true? And this is why you always verify the claims. It turns out Dave Asprey did talk a lot about his sleep problems, but he blamed them on the ketogenic diet, another wellness trend he was famous for. He literally said he was waking up 10 to 12 times a night because of it. So the very person they're using as a success story for good sleep was actually talking about having terrible sleep. The whole endorsement just completely unravels.
All right, so the celebrity endorsement was a total bust. But what about the science? The article also points to a scientific study to back things up. This is where we need to get serious and really scrutinize the evidence. This is the paper they cite from all the way back in 2004, and the full title gives us a massive clue. It says, the effects were measured by cortisol levels, but also by subjective reporting. Now, I want you to burn that phrase into your brain, subjective reporting, because it's the key to this whole thing. Man, when we started digging into this paper, the red flags just started popping up everywhere. First, the authors don't list a university or a research lab as where they work. They just list their hometowns. That is really, really weird for a scientific paper. Then we look them up. Turns out neither of them have ever published any other scientific work. And get this, the company that made the earthing mats for the study, it went out of business just a year later. And the cherry on top? The original magazine article couldn't even get the basic facts right, saying there were 12 women in the study when the paper clearly states it was 8 women and 4 men. Okay, let's circle back to that all-important term, subjective reporting. What does that actually mean? It means the data comes from asking people how they felt. It's based on their personal opinions and experiences. And look, how you feel is obviously important, but it's not hard, objective scientific evidence. It's so easily swayed by the placebo effect. If you think something is going to work, you might feel better. It's just not the kind of solid proof you need for a medical claim. So the celebrity claim is bogus, and the main scientific study is full of holes. For a final verdict,
let's turn to an expert who literally spends his time sorting out real science from fiction. Meet Dr. Stephen Novella. He's a neurologist at Yale University, and he's also the founder of a fantastic resource called Science-Based Medicine. So yeah, if anyone's going to have an informed opinion on earthing, it's this guy. And his conclusion is, well, it's blunt. He says the claims are supported by lousy science that's basically designed to find the answer it's looking for. He argues that this whole thing isn't really about health at all. It's about creating marketing propaganda to sell products. His expert take lines up perfectly with everything we uncovered in our own investigation. So what's the big takeaway from all this? This whole deep dive isn't just about earthing maths. It's really about learning how to think critically about any claim you come across. We just walked through a real-world example, and now we can pack those steps into a simple toolkit you can use anytime.
Here it is. It's a simple, 4-step process. 1. Check the source. Who is telling you this, and are they actually an expert on the topic? 2. Verify the claims. If they mention a celebrity or a study, spend 30 seconds on Google and check it yourself. 3. Question the evidence. Is the science coming from a real university? Are there a bunch of red flags like we found? And 4. Beware of clickbait. If a headline promises a huge debate or a miracle cure, you should immediately be skeptical. And really, that's what this all boils down to. The real power isn't in just knowing about one product. It's having the tools to figure this stuff out for yourself. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. What other wellness trend out there have you seen that deserves the same level of scrutiny? Thanks for joining me on this investigation.